Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our June meeting. I'm sorry, I'm a bit late. I forgot some papers which I left at home, so very sorry. Apologies. We'll open our public meeting, and Gina wishes to speak to us. So, Gina, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
I moved into Jubilee Cottage, Ham Road, 9 months ago, and very surprised by the speed of the traffic and the volume of the traffic. There's a narrow road as well, a small pavement to one side and a bus stop. The speed limit from Borough to the cottage is 60 miles an hour, well up to 60 miles an hour, the national speed limit. And I was here to ask, I'm here to ask if we could extend the 30 miles an hour sign or make it 20 round by the cottages. I just feel it's an accident waiting to happen. The traffic is horrendous. It's really, really fast. And I'm happy to, if we can do maybe speed checks or something, I'm happy to volunteer to do speed checks.
Oh, you're our person.
Yeah, I'm there.
I've got the
Roger, you've got a recruit.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I am really concerned that, you know, there's farms in the area, the cattle crossing, that sometimes makes it muddy, slippery, and the volume of traffic is horrendously fast down that road.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're talking about. Whereabouts is this?
So I've done a bit of math as well.
Perfect, thank you.
So from Barrow,
Yeah.
the health centre,
Yeah.
it comes, this is quite a sharp bend, and it's here, it says
Okay.
30 from 60 here. And I don't understand why there's
Okay.
60, then immediately it says slow on the road, and then immediately after that it says double bend.
Okay, gotcha.
So they can't really go that fast, but they do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, this covers 2 parishes then, doesn't it? Because our Brent Knoll sign is right at the end of the straight bit.
Where is the 30 mile an hour sign?
We are
Coming in from Berwick.
So from Barrow, sign on the door. So this is the health
They
centre.
are.
There's the national speed limit is 60 here, and then it goes to 30. Like
Where are you?
Cottage.
You're down
I'm
there.
here. That's quite a sharp bend as well.
No, I don't know what's happening.
Yes, you've got your email.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think the trouble
I've
is
got
that.
Gina's provided us in paperwork here, which we can keep it for file references.
Yeah.
So we can actually, as part of our speeding
Yes.
profile, we can put that in there.
But if, Gina, if you would like to get involved,
No.
if you would like to get involved with speed detection work, camera work, which we do have one, Roger is the person to speak to. But we're going to no, have you given it up? Who have you given it to? Who have you given it to, Roger?
No, there's a coordinator now in Mark who coordinates the whole area, that's who need to contact really.
Okay, have you
His
got that
name
concept?
is
I'm just waiting.
Mike Scholar.
Mike Scholar.
Yeah, I'll try and get you his email address.
And have you given him our speed gun?
No, you've got it.
I've got it.
John's
I've got it.
You've got one.
I've got it for safekeeping at the moment.
Just
I
as well
also
we
want
do.
to say that the traffic comes so fast, they have their parts of their cars ripped off, and I've chucked away 9 months 5 pieces of car bits, mirrors, everything.
Okay.
So, and that in itself is a danger.
Yeah. Well, it's on our discussions tonight as well. Richard is going to speak to us about our speed camera devices because we need to upgrade them. So we will take that into
Okay,
consideration.
can you put
Thank
me
you,
down
Gina.
on the list as a volunteer then?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're on the list.
Next speaker, John. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I have a number of comments I'd like to share with the Parish Council. A number of us who attended the inaugural meeting last month, that is the inaugural of the new Parish Council, and many who viewed it on YouTube, were very shocked and concerned by the criticisms made to a new member of the Parish Council by Colin Townsend. This should not have been aired at a public meeting. A private approach would have been more appropriate. and this was completely out of order, and an apology should be made. Regarding the recent Parish Council poll, the addresses of the 2 unsuccessful applicants to the Parish Council had been admitted, and having spoken to one of them, it was confirmed that the correct details had been submitted on the application form to Sedgemoor. This is another Sedgemoor error. This blunder will have made a difference to the outcome. Together with a number of neighbours, we have received a condition survey on our property. One of our concerns is the possibility of damage due to the need for piling. We were informed by Mr. Payne, who is the contracts manager, that the piling would be up to 25 metres deep. That's 80 odd feet, because of the nature of the ground. Well, this confirms that this site is unsuitable for this development, as many of us have told you time and time again over recent years. Despite statements made by both Councillor Bob Filmer and the Sedgemoor Enforcement Officer regarding the excessive removal of trees along Day 38, this doesn't conform to the layout submitted by the developer. And I do have a copy of the map showing the arrangement of the dwellings together with the trees. But of course, so many of these trees have been removed. These trees were planted 40 odd years ago. So certainly I will not see the replacement of those in the few years I have to live. And the copy on this map obviously shows the narrow space for the bridge over the Reen, the proposed bridge. Now that bridge is designated to be 1.5 metres wide, yet the space removed by the trees, the space now with the removal of the trees is about 18 metres, which is far too excessive anyhow. So, you know, one cannot feel that the enforcement officer is doing the job properly. Going on to the advertising billboard, the development Colne Residential have conveniently admitted that there will also be a number of affordable homes. Rather misleading information, or perhaps lack of it, for those who might be interested in one of the 11 homes which are on the open market. However, some buyers may not be interested when they realise the lack of trees, which could help in preventing some acoustic, privacy and possible fumes from vehicle emissions. Not the most pleasant site to live adjacent to the A38. On February the 12th this year, the plan to cut the speed limit on the A38 to 40 miles an hour between Edithmead Roundabout and East Brent was heralded by Councillor Filmer. When's it going to happen, and how will it be enforced? Finally, I understand on May the 24th, the chairman was among those motorists caught in a very long stream of traffic in Brent Street, attempting to reach the A38. One can only guess what will be installed for future generations. Thank you. And I do have copies of this map for any who would like to refresh their memories. But of course the map shows the presumed finished layout, showing trees everywhere. But of course trees take a long time to grow, don't they? So, you know, the entry to our village is really, really being desecrated. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate your comments, and I've taken them on board.
Thank you.
As regards your first items, very much so. And I think that's all I would like to say. And I think the matter has been discussed amongst us, or amongst the council in the past few weeks. And I think sometimes it's to be right to be wrong, but I felt that the issues that had been placed before us needed to be aired, and I'm only sorry, probably at the time, that the chairman at the time didn't give the opportunity to David to make a formal response. But I think we've discussed that. Owen has had communications with David, and I think it's agreed, the point you've made, very much so, and so it won't happen again.
Thank you. I was in fact intending to point out that the chairman, as then, didn't give David the opportunity, and he was in limbo.
I acknowledge that, and I
very,
think
very embarrassing.
in hindsight, yeah, but I wasn't chair.
No, I'm not
Can I say something, Mr. Chairman? As the chairman,
Yeah.
I was not involved at all with what was happening. I wasn't even told till 2 minutes before the meeting that you were going to make a presentation. I had no knowledge of that presentation. It came as a shock to me. It was outside the agenda, therefore it was a statement from an individual, not a debate, therefore there wasn't an opportunity to offer a right of reply. If the individual felt aggrieved, which he obviously did, then he should have said to me, as chairman at the time, may I make a reply?
Yes.
It wasn't an automatic thing, and I take offence that you are now passing the blame onto me.
I am not passing the blame
You are,
on you.
Colin, I'm afraid.
I am not. I'm just trying to apologise on behalf of myself for the statements that were made, but I still feel that they had to be aired. They were factual statements. They were not incorrect. They were factual statements, and we have moved on. Hopefully we're moving on as a council, and I think to further procrastinate on this subject now is wrong. I have apologised to David. I have apologised for the fact that he didn't get the opportunity to respond. I stand by the statements that I've made, but we have moved on, and David's been gracious enough to move on, and we're all going to move on. And to be honest with you, this isn't doing my credibility any good, but I really do think we've got to move on, and that's the end of it. John, I take all your points that you've made, your concerns about the site. I had no idea of the piling that was necessary, but really, is this a matter that should be taken up directly with the builder and developer?
Well, I thought it was information that everyone should be aware of, because it is going to affect our lives.
No, it'll affect your life in terms of the noise I expect from the piling.
And also the vibrations which will be transmitted to our area.
Well, I think
it's
you
quite
have the
considerable, apparently.
yes, I think you have the opportunity, and this has occurred before, I think, with piling matters where someone was concerned. Yes, when they were doing the piling for the development at the end of Church Lane that does the new rainwater runoff to divert it down Broadbent Green, down the side of Bodies Lane, they did a lot of piling then, and the people were concerned about it, and they approached the developer, and a surveyor undertook an inspection and a report on what was going on. So I suggest that that is your course of action.
Yeah.
Bob?
Chairman, my understanding is that's the letter that Mr Hale was referring to. They've been written to by the developers, advising them that they wanted to carry out surveys so that they could, if any damage was done, they would have to put it right.
You need...
We have done that, and we've had confirmation today that they will accept responsibility, but it's not
good.
Something that we would look forward to, obviously.
No, but thank you for bringing it to our attention, John.
Thank you.
I think Angela wanted to speak.
I don't want to harp on about this, but you also mentioned me 4 times in that tirade that you gave in the last month's meeting, and to actually watch it on YouTube, you know, where you physically named me as well, and being a person that has given my time freely to this parish council for 8 years, I felt really slighted. However, I was voted back in, and that means that the general public are happy for me to sit in my seat, and to continue. So moving on, I don't need your apology, and nor have you given it to me, but that's okay. With the house next door, Warwick and I have both spoken to the ecologist. We've also got listed planning involved, John, because the developer has actually removed our trees, which is on a listed building on the curtilage. The contractor came out and said that all they did was cut the trees that were on the other side of the reen, and we were able to show them the trees on our side of the reen have actually got the cut marks. So they'd removed probably 20 foot, realised that they'd made a mistake, then did the next 20 foot of cutting it at 2 metres, and then realised they shouldn't have been cutting it at all, and then the rest of the field. We've taken advice. We will keep in touch with you, John, about the developments, because we will take that on personally. And now that there is a listed planning officer in place, we've had into the house, and we are on board with the developer too. We've had him, and we've had meetings. So on a personal level, hopefully that we can help to move this forward too.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Very well.
Sandra. Thank you. Moving on, our next
One
sorry.
comment in relation to the issue that Mr Hale raised about the election and the lack of people's addresses on the forms. It's not an error. The situation was when we all had our forms sent to us, there was an actual section of the form where you could opt to have your name removed. They must, if you didn't fill it in, then your name went on to the ballot paper and with the address. But you could have your address withheld from the ballot paper if you filled in a particular section of the application. Now obviously some people choose to fill that in. If they filled that in, then that would have resulted in their name being shown but their address being only put as resident of Sedgemoor. So it's an opt-out that people had to opt to take their address off the application. So it's not a question of accidentally not putting it on. They must have filled in the section that said not to put it on.
Well, you know, I had the assurance that this person had filled the form incorrectly.
And she would have, and both of them would have done. There's nothing incorrect in what they did, but they filled in a section which, in effect, requested for their address to be held back. It's something that's been only introduced in the last few years, because in some areas where things are, where unpleasantness may be happening, people want to withhold their address because they're worried that they might have intimidation carried out, so that you can now opt to stand for election without your address being printed on the ballot paper. And that's why those two, in this particular case, were. If you, across in other areas, equally people chose to do so, some chose to have their addresses on there, so it's a personal choice to which they wish to do.
Well, this particular person was rather aggrieved, and obviously lost out.
Okay, thank you, John. George.
Good evening. I just wanted to enlarge on the letter which you've received, whereby I'm recommending that we do not proceed with the project of the Edward Symes family chest tomb. The first reason was the lack of finance from St Andrew's Trust. It would have been better if they told us earlier that our application did not meet their requirements. I then wondered how it was that I got involved with St Andrew's Trust, and I did find out that originally there was a heading which said Somerset Churchyard Monument Grant Scheme, care of St Andrew's Conservation Trust. So our proposal for the chest tomb would have come under Somerset Churchyard Management Grant. We could have applied for other sources, i.e. Viador, for a grant, but the Friends of St Michael's Church didn't want this, as they were also applying for grants to repair the church roof. We also then ran into a problem: do we conserve or replace the panels in question? I was hoping to replace them. Finally, the church authorities would not give their blessing until they had received the opinion of Historic England South West, who had previously stated that they were not involved as the tomb was not Grade 1 listed. So that's the end. but it's fully covered in my letter to the chairman requesting that we do not proceed with the project.
George, just one note. When you came round the other morning, you said you were going to see Jed to see whether the PCC would put up any money just to repair the tomb, for want of a better word. Did Jed give you any indication, or do we just kill the project now, as it were?
I would kill the project now. I did see him, and he said that he now thought it was doubtful because they're so busy. He did, however, say that he would email you, but so I haven't spoken to him since then.
Okay, so the project is dead. So that councillors will give us well, not a problem, but we've got £500 from the Nuttall Trust, which we need to use. But I think we can get around that one probably with the footpath. Yes.
How did we come to the decision that that project's dead? Is that, I missed that, sorry.
The project is being headed up by George.
Yeah.
We supported him.
Yeah.
We supported him insofar that we financed a conservators report on the tomb.
Okay.
But what's happened is that we applied for funding as well on behalf of the Parish Council, but the funding wasn't forthcoming. So George has said, if I haven't got the funding, I can't go ahead with it. And there's a legitimate reason why the funding wasn't available, Nigel.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can understand how it's come to this position.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that answer? Okay, thank you. Right, that concludes the public meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could we have a 2 minutes silence for in remembrance of all those people who died on D-Day landings on behalf of this country for our freedom and our liberty?
Yes, Cynthia, I think that would be
Well, I would
appropriate.
second that.
All those in favour of that? Thank you. Okay, we'll commence our 2 minutes silence now. Thank you. Right, can I formally open our June meeting? First of all, can I welcome Nigel to his first meeting. Welcome, Nigel. Warwick, well done. Congratulations on being elected, and also to Andrea for her return as being elected as a councillor. That's great. Owen.
Right. The 3 members who were not able to attend the main meeting now need to actually sign a declaration of office and accept the responsibilities of being a parish councillor, including all the various codes of conduct that we operate with. So if I could ask each one of you to sign that, and I will witness it.
Thank you.
Right, there we are. Okay.
It's like we've got a B over there, isn't it?
Just move aside.
Yes.
So that means we have now effectively a complete set of declarations of office. All the register of interest has been received by Sidmore, and I believe now all the expenses for the election has all been received by Sidmore as well. So we now have a full house of legality, so to speak, which is good. The next thing is the code of conduct for policies. I just want to say something very briefly before we move on to the sort of meeting proper. The council has to, by law, operate with a number of corporate policy documents. These have been, some of them have been updated, some need updating, and some we're actually in omission of. So over the next 12 months, I was proposing that each one of our corporate policy documents should be reviewed by the council, because frankly, taking all of them for anybody at one time is just too much. If we take one at each meeting, and if I send out the document before the meeting, gives you a chance to review it, to have a look at it, raise any issues that you think are important. The most important thing is that some of the documents here, and we have things like code of conduct, standing orders, financial regulations, complaints, disciplinary, vexatious, statement of internal control. Some of these are statutory documents. In other words, they're documents that we don't have much control over changing. The best example is code of conduct. We have no opportunity to change code of conduct. It's been agreed nationally. Standing orders we can make some small tweaks to, depending on what they are that we're trying to change. Whereas a lot of the other documents can be changed to suit individual councils. There's a couple of areas where we don't have any policies in place and where we should have. For example, health and safety policy for the village green we don't have in place, and that's quite important actually. So I would suggest that maybe that's one of the early ones that we need to look at. But most of the others are self-explanatory, and as I say, the majority of them do have some statutory elements in them, but they also have some elements of individual tailoring, which hopefully will become clear as we... Yeah. So are you happy as a council that we should take each policy one at a time through the next 12 months and make sure we comply fully with all of them with properly minuted agreements? Are you happy with that?
Yes. Could you also, in the light of what you've just said, make the health and safety policy for the village green an early priority?
It should be, yeah. In fact, media policy, which I think is coming up later, we sort of thought that was probably a good place to, I thought it was probably a good place to start, because that's the first one on the agenda. I think from next month, health and safety ought to be the next priority.
Is there by chance some form of draft policy in existence for a play area that we could use as a template to get us going?
There probably is.
Nigel?
There will be.
Yeah.
The insurers, of course, would expect us, I guess, to have these things in place. So, if you have some expertise in this area, Nigel, maybe you could assist us on that.
Yeah.
Actually. I guess what we need to do, am I right in thinking we need a health and safety policy statement, and we need risk assessments done on a regular basis? Is that?
Yeah, annually minimum.
Yeah. Okay. So good that
I'm happy to take
we've
that.
got some expertise here. It's good.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Nigel. Brilliant.
So that's all I need to say there. But I'd say if you want copies of any of these at any time, just let me know and I'll make sure you receive some. Just to let you know, we last looked at them when we had our audit monitoring group, and we looked at them I think about 2 years ago, and that's when most of these were actually set up. The only one that differs from these is the clerk staffing employment contract, because of course all of you abide by the code of conduct. I'm actually covered under employment law slightly differently, and that obviously needs probably to be updated from time to time as well as the law changes. So that's all I need to say on that. If you're happy with that, we'll proceed on that in that direction.
Thank you, Owen. Item 1C, we've got some business carried over from the last meeting. We need to elect a team who are going to deal with planning matters on behalf of the council. I was mindful that Andrea had requests to be included in this, very much so due to her interest in planning, and I'm rather hoping that she would take that on. Are you happy to do that?
Definitely.
Andrea, do you want to name a team to work with you, or are there volunteers to work with Andrea on planning?
I'd like Nigel. Yeah. And Colin suggested you, David, and I'm under the three of
I'd very
us.
much like to,
Yeah.
yes, please.
Thank you.
So the planning committee then is a proposal that Andrea and Nigel and David comprise our planning committee, who will report to us each meeting.
Can I just check, not being pedantic, but are we having, as a planning committee, is a committee that has a
Yeah,
whole...
sorry, will meet, but Andrea will then present her proposals. So you will coordinate with each other, because you can look at everything online, and then Andrea will report to the council, okay?
And this cannot be a recommendation. This is not a recommendation. This is actually just looking at the planning applications and
Yeah.
drawing those bits to the council so they can consider it.
Yeah, the only point I would... I'm sorry.
So it's okay. Previously, obviously it wasn't quite the same as that, but we're all involved, are we not? That we all have to look to in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah, but Andrea will
And
be
that's the same.
the lead.
The same
The
procedure.
leader.
Yes,
Yes, that's okay.
yeah. We all have a
So
responsibility
we
to
need
look at it
coordinate,
online.
and we all have to give our
Yes.
views on.
Yeah.
That's okay.
The only proviso I would make, Nigel and David, if you would give us an assurance that you will attend Sedgemoor District Council planning seminars, because they are very, very useful, and they'll give you much more knowledge that you need to access when you are viewing planning applications. So could you give us an undertaking that you will attend those planning seminars?
Are the dates set?
I'm not sure yet.
I think there's one in is it
July is
July.
the first one, which you'll be getting a notification through shortly.
Is it a 10-1 or?
There's two, but they're alternate. They do the same thing, but it's
Okay.
alternate.
Yeah.
So one is on the 18th of July, and it's open to all parish councillors.
Yeah.
And it will be kicking off about 6 and through until about 9. And the other one is, the alternative is the 30th of July, which is a Tuesday.
Okay.
Again, kicking off at 6. But Owen should get a formal
Yeah.
notification through anyway.
As soon as I get all the information, I'll obviously email it to you.
It's very valuable.
Yeah, my
I know
assurance
it's
is
awkward, but it's very
Mm.
valuable. Yes,
So are they both held in the evening?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I've printed off, so I was going to email it to whoever was going to come on the team, a councillor's workbook on planning, which is quite a good rule of thumb, and also what reactions that we can give about supporting, not supporting, or offering no observations, and then what is a valid planning application objection, and what we can take into account because they are raised, but the planning considerations, the loss of